What's going on, YouTube? JT Reborn here, and welcome back to another edition of my DC comic book reviews. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about I Am Batman #1. This one's written by John Ridley, and it continues off the events of issue number 0, which I thought was just kind of forgettable, all things considered. Nothing that interesting from a story standpoint. Not a very good jumping on point if you're trying to get into the character of Jace Fox. Feels like you have to read something else to grasp the character, and that's kind of been the case with this character in general. I feel like there really should have been a good starting point, because what was it with Future State? We started out kind of him in the middle of things, and then we go and was it the Batman Second Son? I guess that's his early days, and now we're back to early days here, and we got the whole Fear State tie-ins and everything else coordinated with that. It gets kind of confusing to try and figure out where exactly we are in the story. And as I was reading this, I'm kind of scratching my head. Okay, so this is supposed to be considered one of the Fear State tie-ins. It's on that whole checklist thing that they have advertised in various issues of, DC Comics, and I'm trying to figure out where exactly does this tie into, because the way things are phrased, they act like Batman's been dead for this really long time. Like, no, he was just kind of considered dead with the whole thing with the magistrate. It really hasn't been that long. If you're reading some of the other Batman books, this feels kind of like it's in its own thing, and I feel like if this story were more of an Elseworld story, that they really could kind of play around with things and things would make sense a little bit more there. Because Jace Fox as a character, I'm still trying to figure out why he wants to be like his own take on Batman, because when he talks about Batman in this issue, it's almost as if he's kind of belittling Batman. So I'm wondering, why would you want to take on the symbol of Batman if you don't really think that highly of it? He talks about how Batman's always kind of up, going from gargoyle to guy, kind of like in the higher skyscrapers, never really fighting wars on the ground, which is a load of crap. Batman's down in the nitty gritty. He talks about how Batman views himself as a myth and that he's actually real, which doesn't really make sense. We just saw Batman stop everything with Joker War, and we also know that Batman works with the Justice League. The Teen Titans exist. It really is kind of ridiculous to think of Batman as a myth at this point. Now, if this were, say, in the early days of Batman, say, for example, Batman hasn't been fully established yet, then I can understand the whole myth aspect. But at this point, everyone knows who the Justice League is. We know Batman works with Superman and all that. They've stopped all sorts of crazy interplanetary threats. We've had Dark Knight's Metal. We've had alien invasions. The city knows Batman exists. It's just kind of ridiculous to think that they only see him as a myth, especially when other characters like Superman and such exist in this world. This city has seen some crazy stuff. They know about the bat signal. They know he's not a myth at this point. So why is he trying to say that Batman's a true myth is beyond me. But anyways, the issue itself, the artwork is definitely a step up from the previous issue. The first issue was kind of bland, now that I think about it, in terms of art style. Nothing really all that creative or really gorgeous images that pop off the page. This here, there's a lot more of a visceral nature with the action, and you really feel the impact of when a car crash happens. And I like the fact that Jace is trying to distinguish himself a bit from Bruce's Batman, where he's really kind of more in tune with a lot of the people. Even though Batman still had his moments with people, like Jace is trying to really establish more of a connection with people, where Batman was just trying to keep more of a mysterious profile. Yes, the city knows who Batman is, but Batman still trying to maintain a bit of a mystique quality to him, whereas Jace's Batman's trying to be like, hey, I'm real, but the city already knows you're real, but there's still kind of this bit of mystery. Here it feels like he's a little bit more out in the open this time around, and there's some good action in here. He's facing off against various criminals, and there's a lot of that social commentary into people buying into conspiracy theories, fake news, and all that other stuff that you hear about all the time. So if you want more of like contemporary, like a comic that tackles, I guess, more contemporary issues, this issue, and especially the issue right after this, is definitely tackling that, but like approaching it at different angles. This issue doesn't focus on that quite as much as the second issue. Again, I haven't talked about that issue yet, because I did read that one right after reading this one, so I'll get to making a video about that right afterwards. But that's kind of where we're at in the story of Jace Fox at this point. There is some good action. You get the sense that he really doesn't try to use too much high-tech stuff. He kind of wants to be, although his suit itself is, they make sure to establish it's a lot better. It's made from different material, but he's not really carrying around as many gadgets as Batman did, not going around in a Batmobile or really kind of keeping to the skies. He wants to be kind of more on the ground. This is the early days of him as his own take on Batman. And at one point he even, you know, is letting them know, like, okay, I'm trying to form a bridge. And even the police are just like, huh, there's something different about you, Batman. Maybe it's your voice, or maybe it's the fact that you haven't kind of run away at this point. So yeah, that's kind of the gist of where it's at. He's talking about how he kind of feels good, just kind of getting out there, like he's getting his feet wet, and he's ready to kind of push himself to the next level. And you also have other stuff going on there at the very end of the issue. You see that the villain Anarchy was shot and killed, and the next issue explores that a little bit more. So this was stronger than I Am Batman #0. In terms of the story itself, it is kind of like, in terms of a Batman story, it's nothing all that special. It just feels kind of like a simple, generic Batman story. The only difference is this is a different character taking on the mantle of Batman and trying to do things their own way, but not really fully their own way, because they're taking the mantle of Batman and trying to make it their own. If you really want to do things your own way, you probably could have just been your own hero, but they're trying to take on the symbol of Batman and give it new meaning. So there's that. But all things considered, I Am Batman #1. I didn't really appreciate the way it kind of talked down about Bruce Wayne as his Batman. I may crap on Bruce a lot sometimes and how he's been portrayed recently as a father, but there's a lot of good that Batman has done for Gotham City as a whole, and it just felt like the writing here didn't really, again, this is coming from this character's perspective, but it really feels like John Ridley's take on Bruce Wayne's Batman. You really get the sense that he doesn't get the comic universe that it's occupied. Like, he was kind of brought in as a screenwriter to write his own kind of original character, but trying to integrate that into this already established universe, there's gonna be some connectivity issues. And I feel like if you're gonna do this I Am Batman story, I feel like it would work best in kind of its own separate Earth, own specific universe, which John Ridley can craft his story in. But when you're trying to, like, pass the story off in an already established continuity where all these other things are going on, I mean, this whole thing, the other issues of DC Comics mentioned that this is tied into Fear State. Yes, there's references to the Magistrate, but it still feels kind of distant from what's going on with Scarecrow and such, to the point where I'm wondering, like, is this as connected as I think it is, or is there some confusion? I don't know. And plus, if you're really trying to get into the character of Jace Fox, I feel like it's been kind of disorganized, because you had the Future State thing where he's kind of further ahead. Was it the Batman Second Son, which was a digital series, which I didn't read, so jumping right into I Am Batman #0, I don't really understand Jace Fox yet as a character and why he wants to be his take on Batman. Maybe I got to read that thing too, but it's not, I can't really find a good jumping on point for this character to really kind of get a grasp of who he is and why I should really care about Jace Fox. So I'm hoping that the next couple issues pick up the pace a little bit to give me a sense to why I should fully care about this character, because as it stands, this just felt like kind of a bit of a generic Batman story. Nothing terrible by any means. There's some really cool looking artwork that occupies this issue, definitely an improvement over the really bland, boring I Am Batman #0, but I'm just waiting for the story to really grip me and keep me engaged with it, because all things considered, I'm like, oh, we're going back to a different Batman kind of in the beginning, but just in a less interesting environment, because the villains this time around are all kind of tied in with the Magistrate and Anarchy, and you have all these supporting cast that, for the most part, I don't know who everyone is. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm hoping the story picks up the pace and becomes a bit more interesting as it goes along, but we'll just kind of have to wait and see how it all ties in. Yeah, so if you read I Am Batman #0, what did you think of it? Did you like this issue? Did you dislike this issue? Tell me your thoughts in the comment section down below. Be sure to hit the bell for notifications, like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the YouTube channel for more content, and as always, take care now. Bye-bye then, and I will see you all in the next video. Come back tomorrow, as I'll be talking about I Am Batman #2. So, yeah. All right. See ya.